I got a bunch of your homeworks. So thank you so much for that. Page 7, you took a picture of your map and sent it to me, so thank you very much. All right, we ended with our lark bunting as our state bird, and our lark bunting became the state bird of Colorado in 1931. And a male, we talked the other day, is jet black and it has white wings, but in the winter it changes to a gray brown color. So I thought that was kind of interesting. During the summer, they eat a lot of grasshoppers and ants, beetles, seeds, and grains are their other food sources. In the winter, they mostly eat a lot of seeds, and you might have been already familiar with that from science class. Well, you saw that we were on page, I think where we ended up was page 11, so that was the bird. So you're going to write a few facts. I'm going to hold up some information for you, and you can pause it and write in your own words some interesting facts about a lark bunting. So here you go. Okay, let's move on. Do you remember that we talked about the other day our seal? And we have on our seal in Latin, nil sine numine, and it means nothing, do you remember? Nothing without God, nothing without providence. And here is a picture, a color picture, and a little bit bigger. So if you want to flip back again to page 11 and make sure that, I know the other day when I was looking, reviewing there, you couldn't really see very well nil sine numine. So just double check on page 11 to make sure that you spelled that correctly in the middle there where it talks about our motto. Okay, so we should have our flower, our motto, and our bird taken care of on page 11. So you in your own words should have something written out, and that whole page should be filled out. Then let's go back to page 9. We're going to talk about our physical map. So our physical map today, you should also make, do you remember the other map on page 7? I wanted you to draw using your ruler. I wanted you to draw the outline of Colorado, so that you should have done that also already on page 9. Yours is going to look blank. This is pretty much what page 7 should look like for you. You have your rivers, your 4 rivers, you have your interstates. You can see some triangles on there. We're going to talk about some 14ers, and you can see that we have our dots as well in our capital, Denver, and some lines. So this is really what map 7 should look like. Right now, you should have a blank, nice square on page 9, and we're going to talk a little bit about some national monuments. So some national monuments that I want to have you write down. I'm going to show you where they are. So you are going to, instead of drawing anything, you're just going to write these words. Now remember, we're going to write capital letters neatly. Think about your map and where you're going to run into things. Think about where you want to write it. It doesn't have to be exactly, it shouldn't be over here if we're talking about it in this area, but you should try to fit it in a little bit, right? Kind of where it is. So our first one that we're going to talk about is Rocky Mountain National Park. A couple of things I want you to know is you can do a capital R, M, N, P. And it looks like this down here. Do you see how we did that? If you've ever seen these abbreviations, maybe you were always wondering, what does that stand for? That's our closest national park, Rocky Mountain National Park. So you could write capital R, capital M, capital N, capital P, right up here in this area. Right here in this area. Okay, so somewhere here where you can find some space. All right, then we talked a little bit about Mesa Verde National Park. That's down by Durango. So just somewhere down here where you have some space, or even over here, Mesa Verde National Park. Look at how you can abbreviate national as well. Okay, so Mesa Verde National Park. should be right around Durango area. Then over here by I-25 on the west side, make sure you're on the west side of I-25, but right down here outside of Pueblo, you should have Great Sand Dunes National Park. That's a lot of information there, a lot of words. Here's how you spell it, Great Sand Dunes National Park. And remember, you can always pause when you need to. Then we have Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. And that's, we mentioned the other day, right over here is this deep canyon. It's pretty long. Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park is right there. And then Dinosaur National Monument, we mentioned the other day as well, is up in this area. Dinosaur National Monument. So you should have all of these words here written on page 9 in their special locations. Okay, so you can pause it. When you unpause it, I'm going to point to those places again and name them one more time. Okay, so up here we have Rocky Mountain National Park. Down here towards Durango, we have Mesa Verde National Park. Outside of Pueblo, we have Great Sand Dunes National Park. Right here, we have the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. And up here, we have Dinosaur National Monument. Okay? All right. We're going to also add a 14er. How many 14ers are there? Do you remember? 54. 54 14ers. 14,000 feet and higher. Mount Elbert is the highest 14er that we have. So Mount Elbert, you can draw a little triangle right there. Do you see where our I-70 kind of comes down into a little bit of a V? Notice which side that's on. And you could put Mount Elbert. And that's our highest 14er at 14,433 feet. So that's the highest point in Colorado. All right, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some 14ers. As you can see on this map, you don't need to put them, but I wrote some different 14ers. This one up here is Longs. This one is Grays and Tories. Beardstat is here. Let me talk to you a little bit about them. Let's see. Remember I told you that I've climbed 25 of them. One time when I was climbing Mount Antero, I was tying my shoe and I found a little piece of aquamarine. Now aquamarine is our rock of Colorado, our gem of Colorado. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's really teeny tiny. I don't even think I can do much with it, but I just thought that was really kind of interesting. When I was tying my shoe, I looked down and I found a piece. Now the reason why I knew what it looked like is because I had just met a man that had been camping out on this mountain the whole summer, and he was collecting aquamarine. As he was going to the mountain, he was kind of picking at the rocks. He kind of knows what he was doing, and he was collecting them, and he was showing us pieces, and he had some pretty good sized pieces, and he was showing them to us, and he was saying, oh, this piece is worth $50, this is a good size for about $80, and he was showing us different pieces of aquamarine. It's the only reason why it was so fresh in my memory, and as I looked down, I thought, oh my, there's a piece right there. So I have a teeny little piece, it's smaller than a pea. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. Also on top of 14er, I've seen a string of telegraph poles. We talked about that in history, and I saw they're still standing. You can just see where the telegraph poles used to be. I saw an albino marmot on top of Mount Massive. That was pretty cool. Albino marmot. A marmot, I was trying to find my pictures of marmots. You'll see them eventually. We're going to talk about animals in Colorado. But albino would be that it was all white. They're usually, think beaver. They kind of remind me of a beaver. And about that size, a small dog size, and picture it just all white instead of being brown. So that was pretty cool. You could really see him well as he was going through the rock fields. met a guy on Mount Democrat. His name was John Kudrowski, and he had a mission that he was going to go climb to the top of the 14ers in the evening, watch the sunset, put up his tent, sleep on top of the 14ers, and then in the morning he would watch the sun rise. And his thing was that he was going to go up on the top of all the 14ers and do this, and that's what he did. And I thought that was pretty cool. Now, he knew one of his really good friends was a meteorologist, somebody that knows about the weather in Denver, and so he was in close contact with his friend. That morning that we saw him, his friend said, "No, I don't think there's any storms coming. There's no," and John Kudrowski was like, "No, I see some clouds coming. They're coming quickly." And what happened is he was caught in the middle of a thunder and lightning storm, and his tent actually got hit, and we could see that it got a little bit burnt, and then he just kind of jumped off the side. He didn't even know where he was, if he was going to be safe, but he was. He didn't even know what he was trying to get off real quick, because you of course don't want to be caught in a lightning storm. So that was pretty scary for him, but he did end up writing a book. He has like a coffee table book, one of those big books you put on your coffee table, and has beautiful pictures in there of all the different scenes that he saw on top of these 14ers. Something else that you can do on the top of 14er Pikes Peak is you can take a cog rail and go to the top. Here's a picture of that cog rail. Now, this is 126 years old, and so it's no longer running. It's kind of run its course. And I was just looking online to see if they truly are going to open it back up. And they said just 6 days ago, they had an update that they are trying to reopen this and in 2021. So if you ever get the opportunity, I know I used to have a student, Mark Sutton, that said he went to the top, and there are delicious hot donuts at the top of this 14er if you go on one of these rides. And so this is a cog rail that goes right up the side of the mountain that had been going on for 126 years. That's a pretty long time. All right, I wanted to end with our map that we talked about. I told you that we are going to take off the different states that we're bordering. So let's go over them, see what you can remember, okay? Right here we have Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. There's Arizona down here, and Utah. Do you remember what river this is? We have our 4 different rivers. We have the Colorado River, we have the Rio Grande River, we have the Colorado River, and we have the South Platte River. And then our cities, we have up here is Fort Collins, Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, Durango, Grand Junction, and Glenwood Springs. So hopefully you're getting this down. All right, that's all for today. Thanks.